Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's hashtag Startup Morning. It's a pleasure to have you join us in today's session, and it will be around the possibility of being a new mom and continue as an entrepreneur. In case this is your first time joining Startup Mornings, these are casual get-togethers for startups by Startup Magazine. Startup Magazine is one of Bahrain's most prominent digital platforms for startups in the region. You can follow Startup Magazine on social media to include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn using the account at Startup Magazine, magazine spelled MGZN, to stay informed about future events, latest startup news, and more. Now on Startup Workshops too, it's a series of free practical workshops by Startup Magazine for Bahraini women looking to start their own businesses or learn new skills and knowledge to take their businesses to the next level. The project is funded by the US State Department through MEPI and is made possible through strategic partnerships with Tamkeen, Zain Bahrain, Manama Shapers, Obai and Hill, and Majrahq. In today's session, we have invited three amazing mompreneurs of whom we can learn from in terms of being awesome mothers, whilst also juggling their successful startups. It's a casual session in panel format, whereby we'll have a sit down for about 45 minutes, and then we'll give the audience an opportunity for a 15-minute Q&A. Of course, today's amazing panelists are Sandra Knight, co-founder of Hayatech, Saba Saleem, co-founder of the Story Studio, and Hejer Krichene of GDG Manama. My name is Hana Alteraif, and I'll be moderating today's session. And before we jump right in, just to give you a brief about my background, I'm a senior executive within the technology and innovation team at Bahrain EDB. On the side, I've started my own startup called Daresni, Teach Me, which is a booking platform to connect teachers and coaches with students in Bahrain and around the world for physical and digital sessions. Of course, I am a mother myself, albeit with an older daughter of 9 years old, my heart Jude. She was one of the main reasons for starting my startup, actually. And it was a little challenging to manage both aspects of working a full-time job, creating a startup, and managing a growing child, but perhaps one of the most rewarding of the three. Now, as I mentioned before, with me are three tremendous women who have also been in the same shoes. I'll leave it up to them to introduce themselves, their startups, and their beautiful families before we can get into more difficult questions on how they manage to juggle these demanding aspects of their lives in this ever-changing world. Let's start with Sandra, perhaps. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to be connected. My name is Sandra Knight, and I'm a co-founder of Hayatech. Hayatech is a business-to-business software as a service and connected hardware platform, and we are incentivizing healthier lifestyles operating under the banner of corporate wellness. We are working to promote work-life balance for employees, lower corporate health costs, and enable wellness brands, right now primarily located within Bahrain, the opportunity to build engagement with their target customers through our curated rewards marketplace. We leverage on gamification. And it's really the center of in the heart of our startup is about work-life balance, which I think really ties in closely to our discussion today about managing the dynamic of being an entrepreneur and being a new mom, or a mom for some time. I am the proud mother of a 1-month-old baby, daughter who's actually asleep in the next room. And it will be wonderful to share my insight and experience on being both an entrepreneur and a mother within our panel today.
Thank you, Sandra. That was a beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Perhaps Saba, could you give us a background on yourself?
Sure. So thank you very much again for having me on this panel. It's an honor. And I am the co-founder of Story Studio. We are a game development studio, one of Bahrain's first game development studio, and our specialty is that we create games for impact. So our games are about real world causes, and we give back a portion of our revenue to these causes. We have created a game about plastic pollution, and we have now projects in line for mental health, refugee crisis, and so on. And we're really, really excited about that. I am also the mother of an 8-month-old baby who is teething this week. So it's a very fussy week for us. And I'm really excited to not just share, but also to hear how other mompreneurs are doing it at this level, especially Sandra, since she's such a new mom. And that part of my mom journey is now a big blur. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the others.
Great. Thank you so much, Saba. That's lovely. Hejer, we'd love to hear from you too. Perhaps if you can provide also a background on GDG, that would be great.
So, my name is Hejer, or Hajar Bahraini, because I'm Tunisian, that's why they pronounce my name Hejer. So I am from GDG Manama. We are a group of people that are into technology, and they want to spread the word within technology and teach people and how to move things forward, and how they can develop their careers in terms of technology, and in terms of having tools for the next generation of technologies. I'm basically also a woman tech maker. It's a woman tech maker ambassador. So I'm representing women in Bahrain in technology within the Google communities in the region. So here in Bahrain, we are 2 ambassadors, me and Hana Alteraif, so that I say hi to Hana if you are watching us. And also I am leading one of the growing startups that called Punix, or under the name of Insomnia, that I am leading here from the MEPI region, Middle Eastern cluster, which is including Oman, Bahrain, UAE, and the other countries, also Tunisia and North African regions. So basically, we provide cloud computing solutions, migrating to cloud assistance, consultancy regarding to cloud migration. And this year, we were nominated as the Microsoft Partner of the Year for 2020 in Bahrain. And we did this, I was at one while I'm pregnant. So it was because we won it, yeah. I'm a mom of 3. Tomorrow he will close his first 3 months old. So is he calls, his name is Yahya, and he's right next to me. Sorry if you hear any background noise. it's not me, but we have to deal with it.
MashaAllah. Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate all of you on your recent entering of the journey of motherhood. Of course, you have a very long journey ahead. Hejer, and you're already on your 3rd, so I think you've got some experience with the first 2, but it's still a long journey with all 3 jobs.
Yeah, don't tell me about it. Yeah, I'm emotionally prepared for this. So yeah.
The question is there any more? Do you think on the way? Do you think after the 3rd?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I'm reading too much about this. Yani, as if you are launching a project, it's a project to be launched. So this is like a kid, so we need to learn more about it. I mean, if you want to excel and have more experience, so really you have to check and learn about what's coming. Yeah, I'm trying to learn, and I'm also trying to learn also from Saba today. She will tell me how to do in the upcoming months.
Well, it's great, actually. Well, I do have a question for you all. What would be some of the concerns that you had regarding managing your startups and when you knew you were going to be a new mom? Because all of you were in that sort of, you went through that experience. So what were the concerns you had prior to this?
If I could chime in on that. Well, for me, I think a major concern was that I would have much less time for my startup, which led me to really overwork during my pregnancy. So I'm not saying that this is the way that it should be done. In fact, I'm saying this is not the way that it should be done, probably because that ended up having, you know, having I had a few complications towards the end of my pregnancy as well, because I wasn't moving around much, because I was like doing 12-hour days or 14-hour days, like on my computer and trying to do as much development as possible. Because I knew that when my baby came, And we are a startup, and it's just the two of us, me and my husband. We are the founders, and I knew that both of our time would be divided, and so we needed to give our startup as much attention now because of the time constraint that we would have later. We do have that time constraint later, but I do wish that I had taken some rest in my pregnancy to enjoy it as well, looking back. And right now, we are still actually trying to figure out the schedule of how we take the best care of our baby while taking the best care of our other baby, our startup. And having two people in the same startup, it has its pros, but it also has its cons, because we're still struggling with a time management aspect of it. And so my fear of what would be the biggest challenge is actually true. It is a challenge every day, but it's something that we work on, and hopefully it gets better. With each month, it gets better, because our boy, he's now walking around and everything. He's being a little more independent. He's more playful, so you can sort of have him be a little more independent and explore on his own. He doesn't need that much attention. So yeah, that's my constrained time. That's what I was worried about. Yeah.
Sandra, Saba, would you like to elaborate on your sort of concern?
Of course. I'd like to preface my response actually by telling the audience that I missed our warm-up session this morning because my daughter didn't sleep last night, and therefore I didn't sleep last night, and I slept through our dry run this morning. I think that gives a little bit of inside indication into my response. But thankfully, our newborn was on a panel herself for being a newborn with a working mom, so we didn't have a schedule conflict there. But that being said, having a startup is a lot like having a child. At the onset of the journey, your startup requires an immense amount of energy as you kind of perfectly curate every element of its experience and debut into the world. And I knew as a new mother and a first-time mother that my energy would, undoubtedly be directed towards our new child. And like Saba, my concern was that I wasn't going to have enough energy left for my startup. As any entrepreneur will tell you, you really truly put your heart and soul into your business. It becomes the focal point of every thought and action, much like having a new baby. And the thought of compromising all of that hard work is a bit scary. I wondered if and when we decided to start our family, whether our startup would be old enough and independent enough to walk and manage more on its own. While I dedicated more attention and energy towards our family and, of course, our new daughter. Very much like Saba was saying as well, I felt that because of this concern that I front-loaded a lot of the work during my pregnancy in preparation, because I knew from all, family and friends that undoubtedly, at least the first 3 months was going to be filled with a lot of sleep deprivation, a lot of not really knowing how you can plan your schedule, much like this morning. So it's anytime that you take a commitment, it's kind of a risk, because your child's always going to take priority, of course, and you don't want to let people down. And also, like Saba, I'm also married to one of my co-founders. I actually will be sharing a bit more about this later on in our discussion, but your team becomes a big element of your success as an entrepreneur when you start a new family. I'd say that I'm tremendously grateful for my team. I'm tremendously grateful for my husband and the dynamic we've managed to work out, during the pregnancy and now at the onset of our new family. But I'm also grateful for the new dynamic that we've had during COVID, working mostly from home and being able to manage virtually. That's actually been tremendously helpful throughout this experience. So yes.
That's great.
Yes, it's my turn.
Go ahead, Hejer, please.
Okay, so I perfectly joined what Saba and Sandra said about the concerns of timing. So balancing between being mother and being entrepreneur or having a business, it's a fear for us as a pregnant or as a people or a woman who are going to deliver soon. For me, my pregnancy was little bit difficult because I had a lot of. I went to the hospital many times, and so I went through downs. But even though I was like catching and trying to work 14 hours a day, 12 hours a day, like Saba said, to catch up with whatever I have. And also my concerns was because I'm working in IT, and I, as an engineer, of course, as a woman in technology, we always face challenges. Also my concern was, okay, I'm a woman in technology, but also I am pregnant right now. So the concerns of my customers, how they can see this. And even I was working sometimes with the customers at that early stage of my pregnancy without telling that I was pregnant. First of all is the time concerns that everyone is taking is a has a fear from it, and also the feedback of the customers. If you're not keeping up with your customer, that we're not keeping up with the same level of performance. My only also the only concern that because I'm so active, I work in a startup, and also I volunteered with a couple of communities, that also made me like a big fear of not being balancing also my normal life as a mom, as an entrepreneur, and as a volunteer also. So these are the three main things that made me concerned about having a baby. And also I will never plan, for me, having a baby means that I have to prepare everything from before being a baby, but suddenly I was pregnant without any plans. So it was God's plans. So I admitted, and yeah, let's do it. Let's face it, it's a new project. My co-founder was my husband. So we work in this pregnancy and parenting things together. So yeah.
That's fantastic. All three of us are married to our co-founders. That's amazing.
No, not a founder of the startup, but it's my co-founder of this life, of this new challenge.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Very important co-founder.
Yeah.
Well, well, do you think that the concerns that you had were present for your husbands as well? Were they worrying about the same thing?
For me, yes. My husband was concerned, but not too much like me. He's working as a full-time employee, so he has to work from 8 to 5. But sometimes, yeah, he was asking a lot of questions. So, what if my son needs me and I was not there? How I can balance between the work and the things? And he has not the same concerns actually, because they know that he has me, that I will back him up. But also he was telling me during the pregnancy, no, we are in this together. I know that you have these concerns, and also sometimes I have the same, so don't panic. We will be in this together. And I saw this during my pregnancy, because like I said, it was a very difficult pregnancy. So he was there for me, and he was training me up. So the only thing that maybe we're not too much concerned about the performance. So I have a startup, so I have to worry about my employees. I have to worry about the people that are working with me. Of course, it's not the same level of worry, but yeah, he has almost the same concerns.
I think the same for me. My husband, he does have concerns. He just doesn't talk about them. And I'm the chronic worrier of the couple anyway. So he's like, oh, it's all going to work out. And it does. But I think it's because he puts a lot of trust in me that I can do things. And that, I think, puts a lot of, sometimes it puts a lot of pressure on me, because he thinks I'm like the superwoman who can do everything, and I cannot.
All of them are like this, yeah.
But his thing is, no, it's okay, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, but, and the thing is, it's not that he just says that, he does stand by me every step of the way. So even right now, he's entertaining our child who probably needs to go down for a nap and needs me, but he's kind of managing it. But I think we both had the same concerns. But one concern we also had is because for us, our startup is the only source of income that we had, which again, retrospectively, I think about it and I'm like, that was a mistake. We should have had multiple streams of income when we were having a baby, but we were so focused on, as Sandra was saying, our baby, our startup, that every thought, every action was based on making this work. And so one of the main concerns that we had then, and we still have now, majorly, is if with a baby now, are we able to support ourselves as a family with a startup? So that puts a lot of pressure again on us, as especially being in a creative business and having that kind of stress, it just stifles the creativity. And that was something that I was afraid of, and that is something that I am seeing at the moment. But I just feel like we're in maybe the hardest part of it, the kind of the down curve, you could say, and then it's like upwards from here. But I guess when you have someone who you can share the concerns with, it just makes it better. You know someone's there to support you.
Definitely, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think our joint concern about, societal pressure would have been more if I were in a traditional corporate job, within an office where mothers are only granted 2 months to 10 weeks of maternity leave before they have to return to work. And I think the beauty of being within a startup is the opportunity to really build your own team, but also build your own corporate culture. And I'm fortunate enough to have fantastic team members, one being my husband and one being, just a wonderful co-founder. When I told our other co-founder that I was pregnant, immediately after celebrating, the very first discussion that we had was, how can we then shape and shift our roles around alleviating my tasks until I was ready to really start again full-fledged. And that was a big relief for me, because my first concern was, about my team. I wanted to make sure I wasn't putting too much pressure on everybody else. But it's really the corporate culture that we have built within our startup, which I think, unfortunately, is not shared by traditional corporates around the world. With my husband being one of my co-founders, we had the opportunity not only to shape our corporate culture around starting a family, but also our family dynamic. As Saba was saying, like, what roles are we and responsibilities are we going to share within the household, so we can both continue to share roles within our startup. And I think that being said, a large part of individual success comes down to the support that you receive from your team and those around you. I think that for husbands or for fathers, that it really depends on them as an individual, like how involved they want to be within their family, but also what industry that they operate within. I think that it's really unfair that, within traditional industries, that paternity leave is almost non-existent, if existing at all, and that fathers aren't really given the choice, which puts a lot more pressure on mothers to have to pick up the slack at home and become, the head nurturer of the household and the child. Otherwise you have to face the very harsh reality of hiring a nanny, someone else to watch your child who's still very young, which personally I find terrifying. I think society still seems a bit stuck when it comes to the roles of conducting a household. I think corporate cultures and public policy still don't necessarily support mothers and fathers sharing those responsibilities. But as fortunately, like as a startup and being married to my co-founder, we get to dictate that internally, which has been such a major benefit. And Fred is a very involved father, and he's also a tremendously supportive husband, which has enabled me to carry on being both an entrepreneur and a mother, even at this very early stage within motherhood. So I think that definitely doesn't necessarily reflect for everybody, but I think that success as a society is going to rest more on changing and shaping public policy and corporate culture around, enabling mothers to return to work, but to also allow them to continue being nurturers of the household. So it's we have a lot of reevaluating and a lot of shifts that we need to do in order to support that.
Absolutely, Sandra. And I think having a startup is just like having a baby, isn't it, though? It's like you've just welcomed your second child now.
Yes, absolutely. It really does feel like that.
Yes. Yeah. And my first child doesn't like my second.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, give me some more time. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
It's great so that but finding the right partner, I think, is the most important part here. when you're starting your startup, when you're having your second child, i.e. your startup and your baby, it's so important to have the right partner to be able to at least have that conversation, right? A lot of, I guess a lot of women perhaps are not as lucky to be able to have that and are trying to sort of juggle everything on their own. So that's definitely something to be thankful for in terms of all of your stories, that you have someone to go home to, you have someone to juggle these things with, to be able to make new plans, to pivot during COVID as well, to make things work. It's definitely, it's definitely something.
It's a real blessing, to be honest, to have a partner who's very supportive with what you're doing. It absolutely is. And I can't thank Sajjad enough for being, and I think he's an absolutely wonderful father, you know, to the point that sometimes, you know, my child is like, oh, I want daddy instead. And I'm like, okay, fine, you know, and that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it sometimes surprises other people, but they're like, oh, you know, he wants him to comfort him instead of you. And I'm like, yeah, he does, you know, and that's absolutely wonderful. And I enjoy that. And I'm like, okay, I can, you know, take a long bath because that's possible, you know what I mean? So I think it's just about cherishing that. And I also think it's about, I think a lot of time women feel like they need to do all of these things or they're not good mothers. And to be honest, I do feel like that sometimes if my child cries and he would rather go to his daddy, I do feel a little pang of jealousy. And I'm like, well, that's not how it's supposed to be. But that's how we are brought up and that's what we're supposed to think. But then I think to myself, you know, my child has a choice. And he can go to dad or he can go to mom. And that's just wonderful that we are able to give him that kind of nest where he has two caregivers and two nurturers. And it's just absolutely amazing to have that and to be in a startup that it gives us that opportunity and that blessing, you know. And you were talking about maternity leaves, Sandra. I mean, you know, and I know that we didn't get a maternity leave at all, you know.
Yes, that is true.
Definitely, yes, I confirm.
Really offers, because you know that it's not just 2 months and then you have to leave your child and then not see him for 6 hours or 8 hours, because I don't know how I would be able to handle that, to be honest. I can't see myself doing that at all. And so I feel like even though I never had those like 2 months or 40 days of just being with my child, I was still doing emails, I'm still signing contracts, I'm still developing video games, but I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade that for maternity leave, to be honest.
And I think, Saba, you know, I feel that there's a lot of parallels to be drawn because not only are we married to our co-founders, but our first child was our startup. So even though I'm a brand new mother and of course, you know, learning about what I need to do in order to support my baby as we go, I feel like because we approached, Fred and I, our startup, you know, like having a child, when it came to our child, we approached it very much the same way in that what roles and responsibilities are we going to share? It's not going to be just me taking on everything by myself. And I prefer it this way. I can't imagine where, you know, we work and live in silos where my husband is like, you know, only going to work and I'm only at home until I have to return to work. I think that would be tremendously difficult. And I have much preferred this style of parenting where we share those roles. And, you know, and I hope that when my child cries that, you know, a part of them wants to go to Fred. I think that would actually be very reflective of the way that we're, you know, the dynamic of our household. But I'm every time you're responding, I'm feeling like I'm relating a lot to what you're saying. And now that your child is 9 months old, I feel like it's a little bit of the future that I'm seeing.
Yeah, same here. Actually, what I wanted to add on top of this, I mean, when I didn't had my maternity leave, everyone was shocked. Why? What's going on? Is there any blocker? We will help you. We'll try to. I mean, my partners are very supportive, and also we're very, all the employees were very supportive. My colleague also were very supportive to me after knowing that I was pregnant and also during my delivery period. However, you feel like it's not 2 months that you are asking for. No, it's a new way how you are gonna balance and dealing with your time, with your children, with your kids. And also I'm a brand new mom, so I'm taking this as a new project as we go. And then I remember myself getting out of the delivery room. I picked up the phone. So my phone was ringing. I picked up the phone. It was one of the partners calling for not partners. It was one from Microsoft, because we are working currently with usually with Microsoft. She said to me, "Hello, hi, Hejer." I said, "No, how are you?" I said, "What about your voice?" I said, "No, I just delivered. How can I help you?" She said,
Wow.
"No, I need to help you." Say, "No, stop it. I will hang up." No, he said, "No, the customer is waiting for feedback from me. Please tell them that I'm just delivering. I will get back to the next week."
God.
And then when I when I joined the next meeting with the customer, I said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No, your job, yani, I'm prioritizing you. That's why I'm not prioritizing myself." They said, no, not at that much. Yani, you have to balance, and you have to take care of this, take care of yourself, and also take care of your kid. I said, "No, I know I can balance from the day one. Don't worry." Say, my husband say, "No, take it easy, man. So don't have to worry too much about the balance. We know that you can do it, and we can balance." But for me, even for our first few days, I was not able to take the maternity leave, but step by step, I learned how to balance between the work and my kids. And it was a very good lesson to me, because I had a C-section, and it was very difficult to me. So the first few days it was difficult, but at that time I have a very supportive colleagues and partners. So that time they were able to understand my conditions, and also some of the customers were there. So the culture is there. It's beginning to, yani, some of the people are understanding the current situation, and of a new mother, or of a new brand new mothers like this.
So it's you've gone through a hectic time, but it's great to be able to have the surrounding, community around, to be able to support you. I think the question becomes, would you recommend it, or would you advise other women to do the same, given all your experiences actually, in starting your business, having those challenges, being able to deal with them? So would you recommend somebody else to do it as well? Or would you say, stay away, don't do it?
Absolutely. I would absolutely recommend it. I think that, before you start a family, it's never going to feel like the right time. It's a massive, massive commitment that goes on for the rest of your life, and that's where it's very different than having a business, is that's it. Once you're a mother for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes new mothers, and I feel we fell into this trap to an extent, you think, oh, it doesn't feel like the right time. Everything doesn't feel perfectly set. We don't feel like, we can start right now. We'll wait till this comes into play and then we'll get started. And I think that's the wrong approach, because I don't think it's ever going to feel like 100% the right time. And I think any parent will tell you that. I think it's kind of a leap of faith that you just take in together, and then you just shape your world and your life around it as you go. I think it really comes down to the foundation that you set. What kind of parents do you want to be? What kind of roles do you want to take jointly? How do you want to approach starting your new family? And once that's set, you can take on anything, no matter what, because you're not going to be prepared for everything that comes. But I think it's also a matter of having a very real conversation with your employer or with your co-founders, and understanding how they too are going to become part of that support network. I think the success of gender equality really comes down to corporate culture and public policy. It shouldn't be the plight of an individual to carve out success from work-life balance. It also comes down to the support system, the support of that host system, so that both work and household succeed. And when the systems don't support mothers, it's really to the detriment of both. Because if companies are not actively shaping policy around promoting conducive environments for women, then they're not actively recruiting the most qualified individuals for their positions. and they're neglecting half of their talent pool by creating that barrier for entry. So I think it's a matter of setting that foundation with your employer, with your team, with your husband, with your household, to understand how you're going to take on this responsibility. But don't wait. Go for it. It's the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. The moment that I held my child in my hand, I had wished that we started sooner, because it's what a feeling to be a parent. It's unlike any sensation I've ever experienced in my life. And I highly, highly recommend it for everyone. Don't let your work get in the way of that. You will find a way to make both work.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I would recommend people, if you're thinking about having children, to just go for it. Stop overthinking it, because as Sandra said, you'll never really feel like you're ready, because you never really are. You never really are until you hold your child in your hands. That's when you're actually ready. And even then, you're never ready for the 3rd month or the 4th month or the vaccinations. You're never really ready for anything, and you just kind of learn as you go, and that will never change. You cannot take a course for it. You cannot be educated for it. You cannot get a degree in parenthood. You actually have to do it to be able to do it. That's just the way that it is. I mean, if you asked Hana of what would we recommend to people, I mean, I would recommend mothers to do what they think is best for them. If you are the kind of person who would want to be the nurturer, be the nurturer, and your husband be the breadwinner, do that. If you want to work as a team, do that. If you think that having a startup is too risky for you and you'd rather go back into the workforce, do that, what you think is best for your family, because there's really no right answer for any of us. I mean, Hejer was answering calls right out of the delivery room. I was answering Skype messages right out of my delivery room. But would I recommend that for anyone? No, because I don't know what their journey is, and I don't know what is best for you. I mean, personally, when I look back at things, I would actually think that I probably should have put a set time for myself just to focus on my child. But I think Hejer also mentioned earlier that because we think that if we are seen as pregnant, that we would be seen as unproductive. I actually signed a contract with a publisher without even telling them about my pregnancy. And I was 9 months pregnant at that time, and I was going to deliver any day. And that was the day we signed a contract. And then 3 days later, we have a baby. And then I'm still conversing with him, and I'm not really telling him that I've had a baby, because, you kind of think that even though I like to think that it's an ideal world and I have my own business and I can do whatever I want, but we're still dealing with people who we don't know. And I'm not saying that they have these prejudices, but they might have had these, and we might not have signed a contract if they had felt, oh, well, would you be able to deliver, because you'll be actually delivering a baby. So would you be able to deliver this project? And the answer was that we could deliver, but we had to really work on it and really work really hard around the clock. And so it's really about your own journey, and and it's not something that you can completely plan for. Let's just put it that way. You can never 100% plan for it. Whether it's your startup or your baby, you can't really plan for it 100%. You just have to take the leap of faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely right. Actually, when I just got married the first month, that people were telling me, no, don't be pregnant. It's a mess. Your life will turn to a mess, and you will not be able to even take a shower. It's true, by the way, but
It is true.
But yeah, it is true. But everyone is no, take your time. It's not a very good thing that you're gonna do. And I was like planning with my husband, no, we will not have a child. I will not have a kid. But when it happens, and it's the best thing that happens to our life. Yani it's a lighting our life. And what I learned from this experience, because now I was reading too much and I was listening to many pregnant women. And just for your information, in our family, my kids are number 5. So we would have with cousins. So we were pregnant in 2020. So I have 5 cousins now. The 2020 kids. We have a group. All of us delivered in 2020. But the only thing that I learned from this is every single mom or every woman has her own journey, and he has her own experience. So you cannot compare. There is a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration. First of all, your mindset and how you are gonna take these motherhood things or parenting things. So how you have to learn how to take it as an advantage, not as a disadvantage. Although I am away from my parents, so my parents in Tunisia, because I'm here in Bahrain, so I don't have mom to take care of my kids with me. It was a very difficult pregnancy, but each of us, so we are 5 in the family, each of us has her own story, own journey, own experience. So we don't listen, especially don't listen to others, and that okay, she got a very difficult situation, so of course I will get through it, or I will have for example abortion, or I will have a very difficult delivery. So each of us has her own story. So the feelings out of it, I mean, at the end of the day, you will experience a very, very, very wonderful feeling that you will never experience it before. And it's another kind of love that you feel in your heart. I mean, you're discovering a new love. It's not like I love my mom, I love my parents, I love my husband very much. I love my colleagues, I love my friends. But the love of your kid is a very different thing that you have to experience. I pray that everyone will have children. I mean, it's a gift from God, so we'll pray for everyone will have kids at the end of the day. Planning is a good thing, but not on the kids. I mean, kids should be one of the things. So as Sandra said, I maybe should do this from the beginning, so we can take more, we can experience more and discover further from this experience from parenting and motherhood things. So yeah, I definitely encourage people. And if you are if you are in a good relationship with your husband, let's do it. Let's talk about it. And if you don't have to plan for it, but let it go. Don't make any blockers, not put any obstacles, because people, they will always tell you no, not do anything, and don't go through the journey. And of course, it's from their own perspectives, not from your perspective. It could be a very good experience from your own perspective. So yeah, go ahead and leave it.
Thank you so much, Hejer. That's really lovely, actually. I remember for myself, I always thought that I was never doing enough, no matter what your situation is. And I think this is a normal mama feeling, right? When you have a child, you think, I'm not doing enough and I can do more and I should do more, regardless of how many balls you're sort of juggling in the air. And I remember my mom said to me when I went to her, and I was incredibly upset, and said, Mom, I should be doing more for Jude. I should be doing this and I should be doing that. Nice, even though you only have only this number of time, this amount of time in the day. And she said to me, and Mama, you will never be able to think that you've done enough. No matter how much that you do for your baby, you'll always think, as a mom, it's a normal feeling that you can actually do more. So exactly. Take what you can get, give what you can get, and do your best with what you're given. I think that's the last note perhaps I wanted to give you all in terms of my own mama's advice to all other women out there.
Mom guilt is real.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think I'd had so many other questions, and I think, all of us could discuss sort of aspects of being mompreneurs all day. But I think we are coming to an end, actually. But before I go, I think, or before we let go, I think there is one question here, perhaps if one of you would like to take it on. And the question is, given your position as founders and able to set the corporate cultures in your startups, have any of you implemented or are considering implementing extended paternity leave for fathers within your organization?
Absolutely. I mean, when we do have a team, inshallah, a big team, we would definitely do that. We'll have much longer maternity leaves and paternity leaves, because I think, again, it's teamwork. Parenting, especially in this day and age, it's teamwork, where you have different roles where you're not really defined by, okay, this gender does this and this gender does that. You know, we're living in a different world. So I think that needs to be embraced, and we are living with rules and regulations that were made like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you know, all of these things. It needs changing, and I think the change needs to start with us. So whenever I do have a team, maternity leaves, longer maternity leaves, paternity leaves, you know, period, days off, all of those things, you know, all of it matters. So inshallah, hopefully we can be part of that change.
Absolutely. I think the nature of the game in being an entrepreneur and having a startup is actually about disrupting systems. And as Saba mentioned, you know, I think traditional work environments really operate within systems that are outdated and not really reflective of the way that we live now. We definitely need to be creating work environments that are more conducive towards the flexibility that we share. As you know, Hejer mentioned as well, we all have a different experience. Everybody's, whether it be their parenthood or their life in general is different. So our work corporate culture needs to be reflective of that, so that people can have healthy households and continue to give, you know, everything that they can to their work. So we will absolutely have paternity leave. We'll also continue to shape work hours, you know, virtual meetings, and continue to shape that work-life balance within every element of our corporate culture, because that's our business. That's what we are also trying to share with other companies. We have to embrace that as well within our own company to truly be successful.
As an inspiration, we are inspired from Microsoft culture for corporate cultures as Microsoft partner, and we took some we stole some culture from Microsoft sometimes to implement within our company. One of the things that Microsoft is putting for maternity and paternity leave is that the mother could take up to 6 months and to 9 months for maternity leave, and it's all paid. And for the father, they have up to 6 weeks for paternity leave. And also they are allowed to work from home, even without the pandemic things happen. So we are implementing this kind of culture. Even me and my partner were discussing, he said to me before he knows that I will not be able to take a maternity leave, he said, oh, let's work at a part-time. We don't take 2 months maternity, but take 4 months with a part-time work if you see yourself are capable to work. And if not, you can take up to 6 months. We don't have any issues. If we can run things together, and we just want to consult with you once needed. We are applying some kind of this culture in our company. However, yes, we are developing new processes. We are trying to implement these cultures. And because I'm the first pregnant in the company, but yeah, maybe when another parent or his wife will be pregnant, we will also take into consideration the paternity leave also.
So cultures are definitely changing.
Yeah.
It's so unfortunate. I think that's all the time we have for now today.
We have hands. We have somebody who.
Oh, somebody raised a hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So my name is Hatem. I don't have a question actually, but rather a testimonial. I am in fact the proud and happy husband of Miss Hejer, Krichene. And I just wanted to give you an insider look into how amazing and gracious she was, both during her pregnancy and for the past 3 months as a mother. So I think the way she has been handling this so far is nothing short of miraculous. I mean, complete devotion, selfless commitment, unbound generosity, infinite love and affection. She's truly an angel, and every mother is an angel in a sense. And for me to witness that and to actually be part of it has been a tremendous privilege and honor. So darling, I'm grateful to you. Yahya and I are grateful to you, and the whole world is grateful to you.
That's so sweet.
That's so beautiful.
Hejer, you have the most gorgeous husband, I could say. I'm sure you are amazing. All of you ladies are absolutely amazing at what you do. And inshallah, you have many more children to come together with your partners and, thrive, get your business to also thrive on the side.
What a beautiful way to conclude this session.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing.
And I'm crying as well.
Yeah.
We're all teared up. It's gorgeous.
Very emotional. Yeah. Thank you, darling. Thank you so much.
Oh goodness, I don't know how to go beyond that. That's lovely. I'm speechless actually for once.
Same here. It's supposed to be at work, no? You have meetings.
Who's taking care of work? Yes, well, thank you all for joining our session today. It was actually one of the most beautiful sessions I've had in a long time. For all of you who are watching, please do visit Startup Magazine to find out more on future events and join our growing, beautiful community, as you can see today. Thank you to Startup Magazine for inviting us all, and we really look forward to future contributions to support Bahrain's growing startup ecosystem. Thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hana. Thank you, Sandra, Saba, Jinan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
It was a true pleasure.
It was.
Same here. Yeah.